and welcome to another video. Took myself a little trip to Summit Racing and got all the fixings to stomp the guts out of anything that pulls up next to it. And what do you know? About a week later, all them parts showed up right on my doorstep. First thing I knew I needed was a higher stall. So I grabbed me a B&M Holeshot converter, which has around 23 to 2,500 stall. Now that's gonna make that 383 hit harder than a $2 mule. And it came with clear instructions and a fresh seal. Next up, some headers.
Fast headers.
Well, reckon this is my third go at putting headers on that motor. The first 2 times, nothing but cussing, skint knuckles, and a whole lot of frustration. That's why I went and ordered me some shorties this time. Figured it'd save me a heap of trouble and a few less bruises trying to get them in. And last but not least, a new oil pan from 440 Source. This is a reproduction of the original oil pan, which holds more oil and has a stronger and reinforced lip. Ain't no doubt it was much needed. That pan I had was leaking like a busted water pipe after a bad freeze. I've got a great tip for you, folks. Them Moroso silicone gaskets with the steel core. Ain't no leaks with these bad boys, and they'll last you forever. Just keep on reusing them, no problem. With everything laid out and unboxed on the table, I knew it was time to make use of that free Saturday and get to work. Installing all that gear into the Fury and turning it into something mean. I grabbed me some heat-resistant spray and gave them headers a good coat. Ain't no point in putting them on if they ain't gonna look right and hold up. Now let me give y'all a little advice. If you've got black or uncoated headers, you best be spraying them with heat-resistant paint. That factory black paint they put on there ain't worth a lick when it comes to heat. It'll burn right off and make them look ugly real quick. With them headers baking in the sun, I went ahead and started yanking spark plugs out of the driver's side. I inspected each one of them and they all had that perfect light coffee color. That's a good sign, means she's running just right. And the passenger side was looking just as fine. No issues there, everything in line. Next up, we tackled the torque converter. We drained that ATF oil from the old one, squeezed every bit of it into the new one, wasting nothing, then topped it off just right. We swapped that seal off camera, then carefully slid the new converter into the tranny.
Ooh, the tranny.
Gave it a little twisting until we heard 3 solid clicks on the shaft. That's when you know it's locked and loaded. I sanded the paint off the center pin, just so it'd fit into the engine without any friction. Jacked that Fury up to the moon, or at least as high as we could without busting a hole in the roof. Man cave's a bit short, but shoot, better a tight squeeze than no squeeze at all. We went ahead and plopped that transmission onto a dolly and started easing it right into place. Took a little wiggling and jiggling, but we got her lined up just right. We made dang sure no oil lines or cables were getting in the way of the transmission. Gave the converter base a good blast with some compressed air, then dropped the lift down nice and easy till the tranny and engine were sitting eye to eye. I cranked down them lower bolts tight while that tranny was sliding up to the block. And my buddy was up there wrestling them top bolts that'll dang near break your arm reaching to get them tight. Meanwhile, I was taking my time cleaning up that old cross member, knowing it was the next thing we had to wrangle back under there. With the tranny bolted up to the engine, it started to sag a bit, so we needed that cross member to hold her level. So we slid a jack under there with a piece of wood and jacked that cross member right into place like a glove. When you're messing with a tranny,
Oh my God.
you best block off that tail and plug them lines, or you're gonna get an automatic transmission shower. Don't ask me how I found out. We set all 8 bolts in place, got the transmission mount bolted up, and used that impact wrench to tighten everything good and proper. With the tranny now good and fixed to the engine, it was time to bolt that flex plate to the converter, which takes 4 bolts to get it done right. But first, yank that old oil pan off, the same one we'd patched up a dozen times. It'd been patched, fixed, and patched again, but it was finally time to say goodbye. Back to those converter bolts. Don't forget to dab a little Loctite on them and torque them down to 270 inch-pounds, or you'll be asking for trouble later. With the new converter bolt into place, it's time to reconnect everything to the transmission. Had 2 oil cooler lines to screw back in, then hooked up the odometer cable, the neutral safety switch connections, and last but not least, the kickdown cable. In my case, a good old low-car one. Here's the new low-car bracket for the kickdown cable. And this here bracket attaches to a pivot point right here, making sure that cable gets pulled just right when it's time to downshift. You can also see the neutral safety switch cables in the gear selector. With the inspection plate for the converter already in place, we grabbed some brake cleaner and cleaned up the underside of the block. By the way, what a sorry excuse for a paint job on that engine. Next time I'll be using VHT engine paint for sure. That other stuff didn't do the motor no favors, folks. Well, shoot. Time to get that new oil pan in place and show it some love with that Moroso gasket. That thing went on smoother than a grease pig at a rodeo. That Moroso gasket's got steel rings built right into it to keep you from over-tightening the bolts, which, trust me, happens more often than you'd think. And that's what causes all the leaks. With this gasket, you ain't gotta worry about that mess no more. I worked that B&M floor shifter cable around the tranny, then slid the adapter plate and pinned back in for the gear selector. Everything fit together just right, like it was supposed to. I double-checked every bolt to make sure it was tight, then wrapped it all up by slapping in that magnetic oil pan plug. Done and done, folks. The headers are baked in the sun, so I'm hoping this is the moment I finally get some headers on this motor. Now I ain't fooling myself thinking it'll be an easy job. But I've got faith in these shorties. They're gonna make it a whole lot easier than those long ones ever did. Installing them from under didn't work though. But after a bit of thinking, I figured we better install them headers from the top side. Slapped on the gasket and voila. There they were, sliding right in. Would you look at that? Pretty awesome, ain't it, folks? Headman sent along some bolts for the headers, but I prefer using studs instead. So I'm greasing up them stud bolts while my buddy's over there getting them all threaded in. After that, I tossed them spark plugs back in and hooked up the wires. We're about ready to fire this thing up. Things are really starting to come together now. And here's how them shorties look from beneath the car. As you can see, we've got plenty of clearance now. No interference with the torsion bars or the starter motor. Everything's sitting pretty. I had to give myself a pinch just to make sure I wasn't dreaming. Just look at that pile of stock parts. Poured in fresh ATF fluid to top off the tranny, then filled the engine up with some good old Kendall liquid gold motor oil. She is primed and ready to roll. Here we go. And wouldn't you know, everything turned out perfect, like some kind of magic. Speaking of magic, guess this one, folks. Kept it short to prevent a copyright strike and to save your ears there, folks. And would you look at what the mailman done brought today? My brand spanking new Driveshaft. Cut to the right length and balanced up nice. Paid way too much for it, but hey, what's done is done. Gave the yoke a good wipe down with some brake cleaner and a paper towel, then slid it right into the transmission like it owed me money. Gave that rear end a quick cleanup, slapped on some Loctite, cause I sure ain't fitting a torque wrench in there, and boom, Driveshaft's in like a champ. And guess what also rolled back from the shop today, folks? My old school Cragars. Got that backspace fixed up with a fresh weld, and they blacked out the rims with some mean matte finish. Although, looks like they might have skipped a spot right here. Ain't nothing major, but still, if you're gonna do it right, you know? All right, now, here we go. Glad to see that wheel clears the caliper just fine, but I'm eyeballing about 3 centimeters of space on each side for that 275 tire. Gonna be a tight squeeze, but you bet your boots I'll make it fit. Gonna need some serious grinding and bending, but mark my words, I'm gonna get that fat boy in there one way or another. But first things first, y'all. Let's see if everything works without blowing up, breaking down, or leaking like a stuck pig. I threw the original rims back on for now, and I'm taking her out for a little shakedown cruise. sound coming out of them open headers is downright glorious. Music to a gearhead's ear. Let's quit jawing and take this beast for a spin. Yup, that new converter's working just like I figured. Takes a little more throttle to get up the hill, and she's sitting higher in the revs, but that's how it's supposed to be. Alrighty, let's see how she handles now. And more importantly, how she shifts. I reckon that kickdown cable might be needing a little fine-tuning there. Yeah, that shift from second to third took its sweet old time, so she's definitely begging for some kickdown cable adjustments. But she's running good, so let's stomp it and see she likes a little downshift action. Woo-wee, folks! Now that was a sweet drop back to first gear. Though I swear she hesitated just a bit. Sounded like she popped into second for a sec before hitting first. Might have been because I didn't mash the pedal all the way down. Either way, throttle response feels way sharper than it ever did before. I'm lifting her up one more time, just to be sure everything's snug and not leaking where it shouldn't. Now the exhaust. We lined up that first bend nice and straight from the headers. And my old man's out there tapping a flare onto it like he's done it 100 times before. Kinda proud of this little garage moment, not gonna lie. We went ahead and test fitted that first bend, since we gotta snake the exhaust under those torsion bars before we can run it out the back. It's a tight fit, but we'll make her work. I ordered some straight pipes and bends from AJ's Speed Shop and start cutting everything to length. Used the miter saw to square up them cuts just right. Then started clamping the exhaust together bit by bit, working our way over them torsion bars and all the way to the back. Now don't go thinking them clamps are staying, folks. They're just there for now to hold everything in place. Once she's lined up nice and tight, we're welding the whole dang thing solid from headers to mufflers. My dad got the welder going, starting to stitch it all together. We had to work a small bend on one of the straights running to the back. Checked the fit, made sure it was sitting right, removed all the clamps, and start tack welding everything together from under the car. After tacking up every bend, we eased them pipes out and laid them down flat on the bench. Makes for easier welding, and easier on the back too, let me tell you that. With both pipes stretched out on the bench, my old man got right to welding them up solid. And let me tell you, that's a whole lot cleaner than having a mess of clamps hanging everywhere. Don't y'all agree? And just look at my dog. Fella don't even flinch when the welding's popping off like the 4th of July. But the second you point a camera at him, he's gone like he owes someone money. Them cheap 275s finally landed. Threw the whole pile in the van, fired her up, and hauled off to the tire shop. Might be cheap, but before I order some expensive ones, let's see how wide those wheels be when they hold in air. Slap the wheel onto the machine. And what the fuck is that? Balanced it, and before I knew it, I was home already unloading the wheels and playing with my dogs. So I seen folks using this contraption to widen up fenders. Figured it'd work wonders for my Fury. I thought, hey, if it works on round fenders, it'll do the trick for me, right? Wrong. Turns out my Fury ain't like most cars. Her fenders are flat, not round. Guess I'll be going old school after all. Well, no fancy gadgets were gonna work. So I grabbed my trusty grinder and got to work. Started by taking off that inner lip. It was taking up at least 2 centimeters of space, and I needed every bit of it to make them tires fit. Well, removing the inner lip didn't quite cut it, so I had to think bigger. I taped off the line where I needed to cut, and then, with the grinder in hand, I started slicing through both the inner and outer quarter panel, right where that chrome trim used to sit. I grabbed that wheel, gave it a little wiggle, and would you look at that, it fit. After all that grinding and cutting, those 275s slid right in like they were meant to be. Just look at that fat boy, folks. Looks awesome. Lowered the lift and gave it a test, just to make sure there was plenty of room for that wheel to bounce around. Nothing's rubbing, nothing's touching. Need to patch up this here a little bit, but that's okay. Spray painted the whole exhaust with some high-temp paint and wrapped the section near the shifter cable with titanium heat shield. Oh, and listen up, y'all. When wrapping that heat shield, make dang sure you're wearing gloves, 'cause that titanium fiber itches worse than a chigga bite on a summer day if it hits your skin. Ask me how I know. Anyways, we installed both exhaust pipes, and this is where both of the mufflers will go. Right now, I'm running some cheap Flowmaster 40 knockoffs I got from a buddy. They ain't too loud, more like a gentle growl. But don't y'all worry, down the road I'm planning to slap some cutouts in there. That way, I can go from Sunday cruise to Saturday night thunder with just a flip of a switch. We got both mufflers in and welded in some extra support brackets, making sure they hang nice and steady in rubber mounts. And with the exhaust done and those fat tires both in, I called it good. Let's get it down, start her up, and listen to that sweet rumble. She's got that nice, deep rumble now, just the way I like it. All right, folks, thanks for watching, and see y'all in another video. Take care now, you hear? Okay, thanks. I'm blind now.